Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Welcome once again on behalf of the Professional Institute of Quantity Surveyors, PIQS, and Cost Umbrella. My name is Akib Said. I am working at Cost Umbrella Regional Office in Pakistan. Before we begin today's session, let's take the quick look at what we covered in our last webinar. We started with an introduction to the RIBA plan of works, a widely recognized framework for project delivery in the construction and design sectors. These provide valuable insights into structured project planning and executions. Then we explored the role and importance of the project management office PMO in ensuring successful project delivery, focusing on how it helps streamline process, improve efficiency, and maintain project control. The cost umbrella and PICS collaboration helps construction professionals by combining practical tips and real examples. Many engineers are skilled but need more industry specific knowledge. This webinar series fills that gap by teaching key standards and best practices. We are truly excited about this opportunity and deeply grateful to PICS management for trusting Cost Umbrella to plan and conduct this series. Let's move forward and explore what's in store for you. Uh, Today marked the second session, Feasibility Study and Viability Assessment from our webinar series of 12 planned for the year 2025. On behalf of Cost Umbrella and PICS, we are grateful for your presence and thankful to our guest speaker, Mr. Gaurinath, for taking the time out for today's session. Thanks all for joining us today. Let's dive into the session. Well, today we have three main topics for this second webinar. This session is divided into three main sections to provide a clear and structured understanding of the topic. First, we will dive into feasibility studies, covering its introduction, methodology, and feasibility reports. Then we will discuss the viability assessment, focusing on key financial ratios such as payback period, ROI, IRR, and NPV. Finally, we will analyze a hypothetical case study of a four-star hotel, including project details, ROI calculations, NPV calculations, IRR calculation, and payback period calculations. Well, in first part, feasibility studies, we will going through definition and importance, difference between business ideas, feasibility studies, and business plan, type of feasibility studies, methodology of conducting feasibility studies, feasibility reports template. Next, we have viability assessment, where we are going through definition and difference between viability and feasibility, methodology, financial ratios, payback periods, ROI, IRR, and NPV. In our three part, we are going through the hypothetical case study of four-star hotel, where we are going through applications of financial ratios, conclusions and recommendations, project details, ROI recommendations, payback periods calculation, NPV calculation, and IRR calculations. Next slide. Well, this is the webinar list. In our first webinar, we have covered on February 8, Introduction to PMO and RIBA Stages. Today, we are doing feasibility studies and viability assessment. Next, we have design development and stages getting. Then we have cost planning and budgeting, value management and value engineering, bidding, techno-commercial. We have procurement and contract. We have fundamentals of schedule and basic of EOT. Then we have EVM and progress monitoring, cost control and reporting. And then we have risk management auditing. Last, we have quality management. Okay. In these sections, provide detail about the continuing professional development CPD program offered in collaboration with PICS again. These programs are designed to enhance your skills and knowledge, helping you stay ahead in the construction industry. We are currently offering 3 CPDs, 2 in Saudi Arabia, 1 in Pakistan. In Saudi Arabia, we have bid preparation and cost planning. In bid preparation, learn the skill to develop competitive winning bids. In cost planning, you will learn to create accurate cost plans aligned with the industry standards. In Pakistan, we have a career in quantity surveying, explore the scope opportunity and the best practices in QS. Most importantly, we are planning to launch our two comprehensive paid courses for industry experts. We have bid preparation and the cost planning, a deep dive into crafting winning bids, and in cost planning, learn to manage cost effectively using industry standard like NRMI. And okay. Next, we have detail and schedule for our paid courses will be announced soon. Our goal is to equip professionals with the skill to create high quality bids and cost plans independently. These initiatives will commitment to practical industry driven trainings. So stay tuned for our upcoming updates. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce Cost Umbrella, the organization behind this webinar series. Cost Umbrella is a project management consultancy firm with its headquarters in the UAE and the regional office in KSA in Pakistan. We specialize in a wide range of services, including project management, cost management, and cost planning. We have quantity surveying. We provide services for the development of BOQ at any stage of design, such as concept, schemating, and detailed design following any industry method of measurement, such as POMI and NRM. Then we have value engineering, life cycle costing, project control, and risk management. We have project performance audits. We have feasibility studies and financial modeling. We have valuation and advisory. We are expert in development of financial modeling in real estate industry. And last, we have training and professional development. Well, our team has a proven track record of working on a mega projects across various sectors, delivering exceptional result through our expertise and commitment on excellence. We are proud of our contribution to the industry and look forward to sharing our knowledge and experience with you through this webinar series, inshallah. We are honored to have with us an industry expert with a vast experience in contract administration, cost engineering, and commercial management. Our speaker is a senior quantity surveyor at Khatib and Alami, and formerly served as a senior contract administrator at Tamir. His depth, expertise, and practical insights make him a valuable resource for us for today's session. Mr. Gaurinath, over to you, sir.
Thank you for the introduction, and I'm very much delightful to be part of this webinar series conducted by Cost Umbrella and PIQS. Rather than wasting too much of time on this, we get into that topic, feasibility studies, right? Before moving to the topic in detail, I just want to tell two examples which I have seen or I have experienced in my career, to real projects, which is in Sri Lanka. Since I am from Sri Lanka, I'm happy to share that example from Sri Lanka. Since ethical issues and confidential privacy policies, I will not be revealing the details or names of the project. The first project, just assume, right? It's a real project. Just remember this. It was started in 2007. It was started in 2007. It was a 5-star hotel project. And till now, right? It's been 2007 means 17 years, 18 years. Till now, the project is not completed. And the completion rate is 60% only. This is one example. Another project, for that project, I can tell the name of the project is Matala International Airport. The project was started in 2009 and completed on 2013-14 year. Till now, the project is not getting the positive cash inflows, right, after 10 years. So remember, these two examples might be enough to give you the importance of the topic study. In reality, so we may using the names of feasibility and viability, vice versa, but it has a clear differences. You will be understanding that in when we progress in. So as the part of the first topic, in the feasibility studies, we have divided the whole section into 7 categories, right? 7 subtopics. First, introduction, as you know, I mean, as we all need to know what is the meaning of feasibility studies. Then, what are the feasibility studies we need to conduct, and what are the methodologies are available. Then, in the fourth subtopic, we will discuss the tool to drive feasibility. Then, obviously, we need to know why we are failing in feasibility studies, or why we are not giving, why we are not getting the real benefits or outcomes from a feasibility studies. Later that we move on to the feasibilities report and what is available in a feasibility report. Lastly, we will go to the decision making of, using how we can use a feasibility report to make effective project decisions. So can we go to the first topic, introduction to feasibility studies? Can we go to the next slide, please? Fine. So it is a preliminary analysis. In the previous webinar, I think you have discussed about the RIBA plan of work, right? Stage 1, stage 0, right? So this activity, the feasibility study activity, it belongs to that stage, very early stage of the project. Because what we are going to do it or conduct in this feasibility study, whether we can able to complete the project or not, whether we have the capability of completing the project or not. So that our ability or capability of completing a project, it's simply known as feasibility. So now I'm connecting the example which I told you, right? Just assume a 5-star hotel, 42-story buildings have been taken. But a real example, whatever I said is a real example. It's 17 years, it's not completed, still going on. So that means that analysis, that understanding is not happening. So in a summary, on a simple perspective, before starting any project or any activity, you should know whether we are able to complete it or not, whether we have a capability of completing it or not. That is the purpose of feasibility studies, right? So if you summarize in a technical ways, you should know the potential risk, you should know the benefits, you should know the challenges which will happen when you are conducting or when you are constructing a project. You should know all these aspects prior to your start, right? Yes, everybody will get to know what the challenges, real challenges and real issues when the progress going on, but there is no problem because it's already incurred. Sunk cost will be there, right? So the feasibility study, again summarize, I'm summarizing again. The purpose or the objective of feasibility study is before starting any project, to confirm whether we have the capability of completing or not. That is the purpose of the feasibility studies. So it should be done, right? This study should be done as early as possible. Then only we can get the real benefit or real decision making usefulness of this feasibility studies. With that note, we can move to the next slide, which will give you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, the real bigger picture of the importance of feasibility studies. You all know, right? A business idea came from somewhere else, or suddenly somewhere like a dream. If you follow the entrepreneurs, they said, okay, I was in a dream that this idea came to my mind, I'm just implementing. Or the business idea can be formed when you identify there's a problem and you are trying to make income by solving the problem, right? All the business ideas either came from a magical point of view, maximum 5 to 10%. Other 90 business ideas came as a solution for a problem. You can see the softwares we are using currently, right? BIM, CAD, this, that, because we were struggling initially to make measurements, the time consumption was there. Likewise, these credit card, debit cards, e-cash, these all came into us as a problem. I mean, there's a problem. As a solution, these came to us. So when you are having an idea, right, business idea, that is a plain thing. That's an idea, right? All the ideas will not be succeeded. So now once you got an idea, you should do a feasibility analysis. Not only the feasibility analysis, we have to do the viability analysis as well, which we will discuss in the second part. But for an example, as you see in the slides, you are planning to start a modular housing business, right? Or maybe small house, small complex business complex. You are planning to build a big, commercial building. Then you are planning to rent it out for some small businesses. So this is your idea. This idea means you can achieve? No, you have to check whether I have enough resources, enough, demand, enough capability, enough, enough support from the government stuff. So then you can make a business plan. So you can see this idea is coming from your mind generally, or coming as out of a problem. Now you have a solution, but the implementation of this is start with the feasibility studies. Not only the feasibility studies, viability studies. So without conducting a feasibility study, if you're sharing your business idea, it's a business idea only. I hope we all did when we were in colleges, universities, right? Whenever we got together, what we are discussing, I have a business idea. How many business ideas we have discussed, but why we couldn't make it to the next level? Because either we haven't done the feasibility studies, or the feasibility study itself showed us, okay, this cannot be go further, right? Every single business idea should come through the feasibility study analysis before the implementation or before making a proper plan to the execution, right? Are we clear on this? Hope we can move to the next slide, please. Right? So what is feasibility study? What is the purpose of feasibility study? To identify whether we can implement a project successfully, whether we can implement a business successfully. So it's not one way, it's a 360 degree we have to check, right? 360 degree we have to check. So what are the challenges you will expect in a project? There may be a technical problem. Technical in the sense the construction technology, construction methodology, that stuff. Economic feasibility. Economic is the big problem. What do you mean by economics in simple terms? Right? You have a limited resources, whether it can be money, time, or technology, but you have big desires, right? Wants and needs. So you have to match this. We call this concept as scarcity, right? So economically, you have to check. Okay, you have a big idea, right? Like constructing a Burj Khalifa, but you still have millions, not billions or trillions. So obviously that will stop you. So that analysis is known as economic feasibility. Again, legal feasibility. Yes, obviously when you're doing a business, especially constructing or projects, you need to get the approvals. So especially a lot of departments, authorities, they have standards, they have laws. So you have to, compile with that. Then the operational feasibility. The operational feasibility and scheduling the feasibility. Rather than discussing these one by one, we'll discuss all together at once. We'll discuss one by one in detail. Can we go to the next slide, please? Right? As I told you, the types of feasibility is simple, right? What aspect you need to check prior to start? Obviously, you have to start with the technical feasibility. Your dream gave your unimaginable design, right? Unimaginable, like a roasting towers or moving moving buildings. Yes, obviously in dreams it's possible, even in business it's possible, but you have to check whether I have the technical capability of that. Technical capability to conduct that. It can be a required equipment. We have to check, okay, for that construction, whether whether we have required in equipment, enough labor resources, right? Enough skills, enough technology. So this checkup, right? When you got a design, when you move on, before moving further, so develop design or execution, you have to check to make this design happen. Are we technically capable? That simple analysis is known as technically feasibility studies. As you see in the last sentence of this, paragraph, when you're planning a high-rise building, you have to check the soil conditions. Yes, whether that is suitable for your, available resources. Specialized machineries like tower crane and all. So simple is that you are ticking the tick mark for a technical aspect is known as technical feasibility, right? Technical feasibility. Maybe in your school life, you planned a beautiful drama, right? This with the musical setups and all, but finally you couldn't happen. I mean, it couldn't happen because at that level you have limited, resources. Exactly, that is known as technical feasibility analysis. Before implementing any activity, if you are analyzing the technical aspect of that technical aspect for that implementation, that is known as technical feasibility studies. So can we go to the next slide, please? Obviously, economic feasibility. This has three aspects, right? Economics means, as I told you, you have a limited amount of money, time, or resources, but your desires are big. So you have to match this. Then only it will be implemented, or it will be, moving further. So you have to identify how much I need, like simple estimation. Even this estimation, very high level estimation will part of the economic feasibility. First, you have to identify, okay, to complete or to construct, just to construct itself, I need this much, let's say 10 million, right? Then you have to check whether you have 10 million or not, right? If you have 10 million in your reserves or enough, any source of income, it's fine. You can use that and you can move further. Otherwise, what you have to do, you have to go for borrowing. You have to go for funding agencies. Then you have to check, okay, to get this amount, to get this required capital requirement, do I have enough resources? Do I have enough companies to support me? So you have to check that. If the answer is no, obviously you have to stop and move for the next project. I mean, you have to think about the other things. So, right? So you have to check you have to check the project cost. Then you have to check whether you have enough resources. If not, also no problem. You have to identify whether enough suppliers are available or the credit terms are okay for your limitations. You have to check. Not only this first initial cost cover up, we have to check about the operating cost. I mean, long-term sustainability, right? For example, you have constructed a beautiful, palace. You are planning to rent it out for events. But since you have used too much of lighting and all, your operational cost, that is mean electricity cost is high. So you are not able to get the real income to cover your costs. This also need to be checked. This also economic feasibility, because if you look the economical part or the finance part of the construction cost, that is one aspect. Long-term cost or life cycle costing aspects also we need to cover in the economic aspects, right? Feasibility. We go to the next slide, please. Then the legal feasibility, obviously, right? Legal feasibility is very, very important factor when you're doing the, especially the infrastructure development projects or any projects related to the approvals required from the government staff itself. I mean, government authorities itself. So because there are building codes, there are environmental regulation. This will be the new headache for a construction industry, right? Since these SPGs, SPDs, the world is talking about sustainabilities and green concept. There are a lot of green concepts are coming on. I mean, new concept, which is challenging right now, are coming out, booming out. So you can't do whatever you want or you did in last decades or 2 decades back. The rules and regulations are more rigid. The water is, getting the wastewater management setups requirements are high. Pollution rules are very, very rigid. You have to get a lot of approvals, So you have to, I mean, I'm getting this message says voice is muted. Is that, or
No, sir, it's okay. Go on. We can hear you.
you can hear me clearly, right?
Yeah. It's okay.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for this. I'm getting this message. That's all. Fine. So back to the legal feasibility. You have to check all this, right? Maybe 20 years, 30 years back. Okay, you have to check the building codes and basic things, basic government approvals. Now the world is giving more importance to this sustainability stuff, right? Greenery concept, energy consumptions. So now your depth or the context of the legal feasibility is very, very high, right? So that is known as legal feasibility, right? Because as we are struggling for the energy consumption matters, pollutions, mark my words, after a few years, maybe another 5 years, this will be more rigid. You have to submit more report. I mean, you have to fulfill more requirements to start the projects, right? With that note, shall we move to the next feasibility analysis? This is operational feasibility, right? Where they have enough resources to complete the project without affecting your existing business. For example, you assume you are running a development company, right? You are doing a good, reasonable, well, let's say medium scale business is going on. You have enough projects. You are running several projects parallelly. Suddenly, you got a big idea. It's a life changing project for your company. But assume you have enough funding, assume you have enough capability. But I mean technical capability I'm referring, right? But if you invest your time and money on this project, I mean the new project, you may lose the existing projects. So now you have to check, okay, leaving the existing one and going for the new one is operationally feasible or not. This type of analysis, is known as operationally feasibility analysis. Like for example, you are working, you are getting the salary on time, on a good company. Suddenly you got an offer, but there's a risk. The salary is high, fine, but there's a not a good reputation about putting the salary on time. Now it's your call. Whether to stay with this current company with a lesser salary or going for the risk. So this way, if you're analyzing a situation in your projects or in your business, that is known as operational feasibility, whether I have enough operational flexibility to complete this project. That is called operational feasibility. Can we go for the next slide, please? Then the last one, which is very important, scheduling feasibility. This is very, very important. Like for example, we are developing a lot of infrastructure targeting a specific events, right? Let's say 2022 we had Qatar World Cup. 2034 we will have there's cases Saudi Arabia football FIFA World Cup. So your time is fixed, right? Now you have to check when you're developing a project, especially for this event, you have to check, okay, complete it. Am I able to complete it on time, even by increasing the resources? You should remember, you cannot always complete the project by increasing the resources, right? You should know the optimum time for each and every activity in your construction. So you have to check that as well, right? Just assume that again I'm connecting the project which started in 2007 and still 60% completion. Just assume if they started that project for an event happening on 2015, right? Luckily, they don't have any plan, but just assume what will happen. The complete investment is going on a wane, right? On a pain, actually, right? So you have to check the project timeline, you have to check the regulatory compliances, you have to check the resource availability and the risk management state, right? So now we have discussed five criteria, right? First, we discussed technical feasibility, whether we have a capability of technical aspect, right? Then we discussed Economical feasibility, it's related to arranging fund, maintaining fund, identifying the required. Then we discuss scheduling feasibility, right? Operational feasibility and the legal feasibility. Remember, not only this, there are several feasibility. This is the very high level and very simple or very important feasibilities. If you tick all these five with the correct tick, that means you're almost ready to go, right? That doesn't mean these are the only five feasibility studies, required for a project. It depends. It depends based on your operating country, operating region, right? But for a basic feasibility report, you have to have these five to make a effective decisions. Are we clear on this? Shall we go to the next slide, please? Then. Now we'll go through the process which is required for a complete feasibility study analysis, right? Not the project, guys. The feasibility study process, right? I'll just read the steps when we'll discuss one by one in detail, right? We have first step is preliminary analysis. As you all know, cost management professional, preliminary analysis means what? It's like a high level scanning, right? You keep the book like this, that's scan. That is called preliminary analysis. Then the scope analysis, obviously, right? Scope issues are the biggest issues cost management professionals or construction industry professionals are facing. Then you have to conduct a market research, this five basic feasibility analysis, risk analysis, then you have to evaluate the alternatives, finally you have to prepare the report. So with that note, we'll go to the first point or first process, which is preliminary analysis in the next slide. Can we go to the next slide, please? So remember, this is not the preliminary analysis of the project, right? This is the preliminary analysis for conducting a feasibility studies. As I told you, right? As I told you, you have to have a clear picture about what you're going to do. So obviously you need to know the definition of the project. Define the project scope and objective. Then only you can check, okay, for example, you are constructing a stadium for 2030 World Cup, let's assume. So that means you should have completed before 2030. So that gives an objective of completion date, right? And if you're doing a government project, allocated budget, the cost implication is fixed. So first you have to go for a scanning, right? Sometimes that scanning itself tell you the answer not to go, right? For example, I'm back to the stadium experience. Stadium example, right? So, stadium, right? If you identified, okay, I don't have enough time to complete the project, that itself you have to stop. If you have some positivity only, you have to take to the feasibility study in depth, right? So early indication, you have to give importance. That is known as preliminary analysis. Once you've done, okay, your preliminary analysis saying, okay, high level it's fine, but still we have to go for a depth of feasibility studies. Again, you have to fix, okay, which aspect of feasibility am I going to look? Whether it's a full aspect, like as I told you already, not only five, there are many aspects of feasibility studies. Whether are we collecting or are we covering all these, or we fix the major components or critical components of feasibility studies, because feasibility study itself requires a lot of time. Just assume you are predicting the future, right? Predicting the future challenges or trying to identify the challenges, which is the most difficult thing in the life, predicting the future. So that requires a lot of effort and time. So you have to define the accuracy of your feasibility studies, the depth of your feasibility studies, or variables of your feasibility studies. We have to fix it. Based on that, once you fix, okay, these are the 6 types or 4 types or 3 types of feasibility study I'm going for it, and this is the depth and this is the accuracy, you have to go for a market research, right? Why? As I told you, feasibility study is about predicting the future or identifying the future issues. So you may have some previous experience which may directly relevant to you, but still you can get some ideas from that. So you have to get as much as data, right? You know, in the current world, right? This Facebook and social media life, I mean, social media arena, the most powerful resources is data, right? Data itself giving you business. Likewise, in a feasibility, to get a correct feasibility studies, you have to go for more data, accuracy, reliable, relevant, right? Right. So that is the third step of feasibility studies. So you have to find the correct sources as well, not by name or not by just random Google things. So you have to go for an accurate information or data as much as possible. With that, we can go for the first step. So you set a plan, right? You identified, okay, preliminary analysis saying, okay, it's good to go for a feasibility studies. Then you fix the depth of feasibility studies. Now you find the places or resource persons to get the information. The first step is, can we go for the next slide? The implementation of feasibility studies, which we have already discussed. So I'm not going to discuss this again, but we call this as telos, right? TELOS. This is very basic. As I told you earlier, you can go for more detail as well. So the fifth step is, right? Can we go to the next slide? Risk analysis. Very, very important topic, right? Risk management, risk analysis, enterprise risk analysis, right? You have a data, right? You have a data that is about the future. For example, let's say technical aspect. Let's talk about the legal aspect, legal feasibility studies. You identified there is a chance government will change the procedures or regulations in future because some developing countries or developed economics are changing like this. So this is an assumption or maybe a prediction. Now you have to do whether that will happen or not. If that happened, what is the impact? So this process is called risk analysis, right? Risk means what? You predict something. There's a chance, right? In reality, it will deviate from what you predicted. So now you predict, right? You are expecting some deviation from that. Now you have to check how much it can be deviated. What is the impact if that deviating from my plan, right? For example, we'll talk on the perspective of cost. Your initial plan development cost is 100 million. Then you have a cushion of 10 million. Okay, additional cost will come. So now 110. Just assume if the cost is increased more than that, let's say another 20%, you cannot. I mean, you plan 100, you have still 10 allowances you can arrange. But if that go beyond that, obviously you have no option. You are in the full capacity of borrowing the things. So you have to stop this. So this is called risk analysis, right? You have to identify each and every incident you have listed down. Then you have to say, okay, what is the probability of each and every event, and what will be the impact if that event happen? Again, I'm telling you, right? Not always every risk are negative risk. There could be positive risk as well, right? Suddenly government announced, you don't need to have this regulation. It's too old. We don't need. That may give you a positive way as well. Positive, a side of benefits as well, right? Next step, the seventh step, evaluate the alternatives, right? Now you have a data, you have some sort of analysis. Now you have options. Now you should decide, okay, which option I need to go for it. For example, economic feasibility I'm taking. You identified 100 million is your requirement. You don't have any cash. You don't have any cash at your bank. Now you're planning to sell your properties, one option, or going for a joint venture business, or going for a loan. So for economic feasibility gives you a problem. But when you are analyzing risk analysis, you have three options. Now you have to decide it. That depends on you, right? Again, I'm telling, it depends and varies, organization to organization, person to person, perspective to perspective. So that is called evaluate the alternative. For example, I need $100 million. You need $100 million. I may go for the bank loan. You may go for your selling your assets. Both can be correct from their perspective, right? So that is called evaluate the alternatives. The next step, prepare the report. So now it's about presenting, right? You are cooking from step 1 to step 7. You cooked your meal, right? You did a lot of research, you met a lot of people, right? You did thorough analysis using all these, AI, these technologies aspect. Now you have to present it, right? Prepare and present. And these 8, 9, 10 steps are connected things, because you may not in the position of decision making. For example, you are a cost engineer, you did all these economic feasibilities, but still you are not in power to make this decision. Maybe you have to present this to a client, I mean your employer, to make decisions. So now it's your time or duty to present this in a meaningful way to make a decisions. So that is the 8, 9, 10 steps. Finally, obviously, based on your report, based on your 360 analysis, you will have a decision. You will have to take a decisions. Hope you got clear with the methodology, right? Shall we go to the next slide, please? Then, obviously, this is the outcome of 8, 9, 10 step. You will have a feasibility report, right? Complete feasibility report covering the all required aspect as you planned or fixed in your first step of your process, right? I mean, second step of your process, scope of your feasibility studies. So you have a complete feasibility report. Then the financial projection, obviously, right? The easiest language to talk is money, right? Right? We have to discuss in money, monetary terms, not always the qualitative terms, monetary terms. So obviously your feasibility report should have the risk, the identified risk should be reflected in a monetary base, monetary terms, right? Rather than saying, oh, this is the risk. You can say, if you're going for that decision, you may have a chance of loss of 50 million, which give the real impact attention when you're talking on the monetary terms. Obviously, you have to talk financial projection. That's called the talking the information in monetary values. Then the risk assessment, as I told you, you identify the risk, you analyze the risk. Now you have to decide which risk I can go for it, which risk we cannot go for it. Finally, your recommendation. So this is like a summary or outcome of the whole process. You will have a complete report, technically sounded feasibility report with monetary numbers, monetary terms inside it. You have a risk assessment details. Lastly, you have a recommendation. Again, it's a recommendation. Through the process, you identify this. Now you're presenting to the authority who can make decisions. Right? Can we go to the next slide then? Right? The tools, as I told you, you may got a clear picture, right? To have a comprehensive and complete feasibility studies, you have more and more data. So now check where you can get the data, where you can get more information. So that tools are all recorded. We listed only 5, but not only this, whenever, wherever there's a possibility to get data, that is a great tool for a feasibility studies, right? This is like, very famous or use feasibility tools. SWOT analysis, you're analyzing the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Pestle analysis, political, environmental, social, technical, legal, again, economical aspect of analysis. Sensitivity analysis means you're changing, right? If we say, right, if you're coming, if you're not coming, like kind of thing. Sensitive analysis, market research tools, and cost benefit analysis. I'm not going to deep on this, but remember, these are very basic. There will be a lot of tools, right? But don't remember the terms of tools and all. Just remember, you need, when you're making a feasibility report successfully, what you need is more and more information, right? That is this is called feasibility studies. I mean, tools and techniques. Can we go to the next slide, please? Again, shortfalls. As I told you, I recommended, or I list down what is required for a comprehensive and complete feasibility studies, more and more data, right? Or proper analysis, right? Now, shortfall means what? Pitfall means what? The limitation. Why we are not able to make proper feasibility studies? Because we have optimistic assumptions, right? Over optimistic assumptions. Because this feasibility studies is completely talking or analyzing about the future. So your assumption should be realistic and reliable. Less market research, poor understanding about your risk components, poor financial modeling, and scope creep, right? So these are the shortfalls or common pitfalls which disturbs you to go for the reliable feasibility report. So what you have to do is, if you want to have a real feasibility report, you have to go for a correct, or you have to fulfill the shortfalls of this, right? Remember, I told you one story, right? That 2007 project, right? 2007 five-star hotel project, they had a feasibility study. The feasibility study saying we can go for the project. That means conducting feasibility study will not solve your problem. Conducting and having a proper, well-structured, comprehensive, reliable feasibility study will serve you the real benefit. Right? Can we go to the next slide then? With that point, we'll take a small break around 5 to 7 minutes. Then we'll continue another important topic, viability assessment. Please remember the example I have given you, right? You can Google it as well. The World MTS Airport, right, which is in Sri Lanka, or they call it host airport. I will connect that example to this topic after 5 minutes. Have a break. Come again. Thank you.
Well, in the second part, we will present a case study while implementing the viability assessment. So I request all of you, please stay connected.
For the second section, it's viability assessment. Some people, I mean, most of you here, I'm predicting that, right? Viability assessment may be a new term for you, right? The problem is, even in some articles, the concept of viability assessment discussed under the heading of feasibility studies. But we have a clear differences, which we will define and identify the differences in detail. Then, as we discussed the 5 feasibility studies, I mean topics, types, we have several ratios, several assessment methodologies or methods to do a viability assessment. After the definition and differences of assessment, right? Can we go to the next slide, please, then? So, right, I hope you remember, right? I stated a business idea will become a business plan. In between, 2 aspects you have to done: feasibility study analysis as well as viability assessment. Now you are clear with the feasibility studies. That means the ability of completing the task or completing the project, or initiating the business itself. Viability assessment analysis, doing some more research about, by completing the project or by implementation or initiation of a business, whether we are able to get the required profit or return from that, right? For example, your feasibility study report says you have enough money to construct a stadium or a commercial building within 4 years, 3 years, fine. Every aspect is fine. Technically, you are sounded. Legally, you are fine. Environmentally, no issues. But you should know one more aspect as well. Even after the completion of project, whether we are able to get the return from this or required return from this, right? So it's not only about ability of completion, the ability of ability of getting what we require. That is known as viability assessment, right? You should know the difference, right? Assess feasibility, ability of completion, ability of completing a project. Viability go far beyond that. Confirmation, about the projects give you the required return you planned or you should have. Now you understand the difference, right? But again, I'm telling that in reality, we are using vice versa. We are saying feasibility and viability are same concept. No, it's completely different. Not, I should not say that completely different. It's an interconnected stuff. Viability talks about the long term or lifetime of the projects, right? So can we go to the next slide, which will specify the exact difference between feasibility and viability, right? I'm reading this because it's give you a correct picture. A project must first be feasible, can be done before its viability should be done. Why I'm saying should be done? For example, you confirm that you have enough money and resource to complete a 5-star hotel, but your viability report says even you construct this, you will not get any return. Like the project creating issues for Sri Lankan government or Sri Lankan country as a whole for last 10 years, right? That is, they have completed the project within a good time of a good period of time. Within 4 years, they construct a international airport, but next 10 years the airport is not used for not used as airport in a full-fledged, let's say, in a way. That means you have to do both in both prior to start a project, not only the feasibility studies, viability assessment as well, because your feasibility study may tell you that okay, you can go, you can go for it, but without a viability assessment, there's no assurance the money required will come to you or not. So now you understand why we need a viability assessment, right? In addition to the feasibility studies. If someone say which is high, still I have no answers. Both are required, guys. Both are required. You cannot decide a success of a project by having only the viability assessment or by having only the feasibility assessment. You need to have both. Can we go to the next slide, which more specifically differentiate these both? Right, very good. Focus, feasibility, but the focus feasibility studies does, can the project be done? Yes, whether I can complete the project or not. Viability, should the project be done? Okay, I can complete the project, but will it serve the purpose? Will it serve my purpose of getting business, getting profit? Feasibility, if you take a project, I mean real project, feasibility study talk about 4 years or 5 years maximum. Assume the case study which we are going to use in the third section. Let's say construction period 4 years. So you will identify in the feasibility studies what are the challenges you will expect it in that 4 years. But viability assessment will go till the end of economic life cycle. That means till the end of the project, right? Time horizon, as I told you, short term, long term. Key question. This is very, very important. Can we do this? Should we do this? Right? For example, right? You can cook, right? Right? You can cook. Assume you are a good cook, right? But are we doing it necessarily required? No, right? This is the exact meaning of viability studies. If you don't need to go for the project if your feasibility study says yes, you can go for it. No, you have to check another checkpoint, that is viability assessment, right? Components, as we have discussed, technical, operational, legal. Here more money towards more monetary oriented analysis, right? Because at the end, as I told you, the best language in the world is money, right? Business, I mean, best language for business is money. So what we are checking in the feasibility studies, is it possible? Viability, is it worth it? I think this much is enough to differentiate identify the differences between feasibility and viability. If you know this concept, that's fine for me, right? That is enough for this webinar, because that if you got that clear picture in your mind, you will rock it. You will check the real projects. Now, just assume tomorrow you're going to the streets of Islamabad. I don't know. I never have been to Islamabad or Pakistan. Just assume, just count the projects, number of projects got started, not finished, right? Just list down. Maybe 5 kilometers drive, and list down the number of projects completed but not operated. So that means this either they have a feasibility problem or the viability problem, right? This is up to this point. Are we clear? If that, we can go for the next slide. Now it's again an analysis, right? So you know what to do. What do you have to do from the viability assessment? You have to confirm before starting a project whether this project will make you benefit or not. In the feasibility, before starting a project, whether you are able to complete or not. This is viability and feasibility. The tools and techniques, it depends on you guys. I'm again covering the basic tools of viability assessment. We have more than this, right? So return on investment, net present value, internal rate of return, payback period, cost benefit analysis. These are very basic. Even I'm not going for depth on this because in reality, if you're doing it, you have to go depth. As I told you earlier, this viability and feasibility are not post-mortem, right? You know post-mortem, it's already done, you're analyzing. Is it predicting the future? So your analysis should be more and more reliable, realistic, right? So if you're doing these two things, the concept is very simple, but if you're doing real and reliable feasibility studies or viability assessment, you have to go depth. You have to invest more time on this. But in the example purpose, I'm using very, very basic and straightforward example, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is payback period. This is very, very straight topic, right? Payback period. So you are making a decision, right, with a time frame. So let's say in this example, I'm saying the initial investment is 100 million and we have 120 million is coming, year 2, 30 million is coming, year 3, again 30, 40 coming, means how many years it will take to cover this amount. So you invest this 100. So first 2 years you got 50, third year you got 80. I mean, till third year you got 80. Now you have balance 20 to get 100 million back. But you are getting 40 in the third year, I mean, fourth year. So it means again another 6 months required. So the total time required to get the money back, that is 100 million, 3.5 years. So this is very, very straightforward calculations. Still, some of the companies are using it, but I'm against this topic because I'm against in the sense the purpose of business is not getting the return back, right? Purpose of business is getting the high return till the end of the project, right? For example, let's assume one project, same example, in the 100 million, let's say year 1, 10, year 3, 50, year 4, 100, right? So that means payback period is slow. Payback period is low in the sense payback period is high, and in the sense of 4 years, but it gives you more profit. Like I can feel you imagine the scenario, right? Total, I mean, payback period for project A is 3.5. Payback period for project B is 4 years. That is high. So you obviously go with a payback period lesser project, but assume after payback period years, after 4 years, fifth year, the project B, I mean the higher payback period project perform well. So what you have done is you are covering only the initial investment recovery, not the concept of profit. So, right? So that's the point I'm saying. It focused on liquidity and profitability measurement, but ignored the risk beyond the payback period. I think you got the meaning of what I'm trying to say here, right? Maybe the project with a lesser payback period will be a lesser profit one. Or in other words, with a higher payback period, that means maybe it takes too much of time to get the real benefit. But once it started, it gives you more benefit, right? In cricket, you can say, who is that? Take long time. Best example is Sangakkara, right? Another best example, you may hate him, Rohit Sharma. You can see the starting troubles of Rohit Sharma. But he got enough chances. He got perform. I mean, he's performing well. So this is the point, that not only always think about the return. I mean, the quick return. Not about that. Not only about that. You have to think the total return that can give you, right? That is called payback period. But in economics or finance, it's a simple and straightforward concept. Shorter the better, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? This is return on investment. Again, a very straightforward things. What you are doing is you are the formula given here, right? Net profit from the investment divided by cost of investment into 100%. So same simple example I'm using. Initial investment is 100. Total return is 120, which is addition of 20, 30, 30, and 40. So net profit is 20. So net profit from investment is 20. Divided by cost of investment is 100. Multiply 100%, 20%. Right? This is very straightforward thing. Now you may have a question, right? Which ROI we have to fix? Whether about 10, about 15, about 30, which is the correct ROI? This depends on the industry you are running. This depends on the risk, aptitude you have. So remember, okay, 20% ROI means good, maybe negative as well. So it again, as I'm telling from the start itself, realistic analysis are required. No, you should not remember the numbers. Okay, it's not like having an average of this. Above average is good, below average is bad. No, not like that. You have to check the industry you are in. You have to check the projects you are in. You have to incorporate that aspect as well. 30-60 analysis, right? And the methods we discussed so far, which is payback and return on investment, are not considering the time value of money. Right? The time value of money. There's a value for time, right? With the time, monetary values is decreasing. In simple understanding, what is the petrol price before 10 years, before 20 years? What is the petrol of this? Same amount of petrol, what is the price now? So that means you are consuming the same amount by giving more money, right? That's mean the money time with the time money value get decreases. But in this analysis, whether it's a payback period, whether it's a return on investment, what we have done is we haven't considered that. For example, if the project is 2 years, the business is 2 years, 3 years, fine. But if you have a 30 years, 60 years business, especially the commercial buildings or residential buildings, its life cycle, useful economic life cycle is 20, 30 years. There is a important factor which is missed, time value of money. So depending only on payback period, ROI, yes, it gives the indicator, but especially when your project life cycle is high, you need to consider the time value as well, which is considered in the NPV analysis in the next topic. Can we go to the next slide, please, guys? So NPV, net present value. What we are doing here is same concept, right? Same concept as ROI concept, but here we consider the real time value of money. What we have done in ROI, we add all the return together, then deduct the initial investment, right? We did that aspect. Here, what we are doing is we identify the real money, real value of money. For example, let's assume your interest rate is 6%. For a simple perspective, I took this 6% as an example. If your inflation rate, it depends on the situation. It can be interest rate, this can be discount rate, this can be inflation rate, right? But remember inflation rate for an understanding purpose. Every year your inflation rate is 6% increasing. That means year 1 you have 1 liter petrol for 100 rupees. Year 2 the same petrol 1 liter 106, right? Year 3 6% of 106. That means with the time, right, every year money value is decreasing by 6%. Right? Cost is increasing by 6%. In other words, value of money decreasing by 6%. So I'm not going to discuss in depth. For example, year 1, as per the cash flow we have, it is 20 million. But that 20 million in year 1, if you take to the previous year, that is when the year we started the investment, it is not 20 million. The value is 18.87 if the interest rate is 6%, right? Remember the point I told you, right? You have to have a realistic numbers analysis, right? For example, if you identify this as 9%, which is incorrect, you will end up with the different answers. So identification of this, parameters also very important, right? So it's the same wise, if you have a 30 million year two, if you take that 30 million to year zero, which is the year you invested, that the real value of 30 million is 26.7. We have studied, right? You have to compare apple to apple, orange to orange. For example, you invest 100 million in 1 year, you are receiving returns in different year, and you add that different years and subtracting is, so you are missing one component, right? So apple to apple, you have to bring the money, the real money value to the same year, then only you have to compare. That is called NPV analysis, right? You remember, right? With ROI, we got the net profit of or net return of 20 million. But if you consider the real aspect, I mean, time value of money, it's not 20, it's 2.11, 2.44. Again, I'm saying these are assumptions, these are, simplified examples. In reality, you have to check in depth. So the benefit is what? Is this method considering the time value of money. But again, the drawback is your assumption sensitivity. If you assume, let's say 6 instead of 7, your analysis will give a different picture, right? And it is not that easy to predict the interest rates, for 30 years now, right? There is a lot of changes will happen, lot of struggles will happen, right? Lot of unpredictable things like tsunami, corona. These will impact even the economic aspect as well. So this sensitivity will impact your analysis and results. So that is the drawback or the difficulty on this method. Can we go to the next slide? I think we need to move a little bit fast. So the internal rate of return. This is also similar to the NPV calculations, but here, as a humans, we always want a relative answer, right? In the percentage is easy. So that means the same investment, right? The real return is 7%, not the 20%, right? Right? If the cash flows is like this, I'm not going to discuss in detail. So internal rate of return is that net gain by this investment considering the time value is 7%. For example, if your interest rate is 10%, you should not go for this investment because you have cost of capital is 10%, but you are still getting lesser than that. So you are end up in a loss. So if your interest rate or discount rate or inflation rate is 9% and your IRR saying 16%, that means okay, still you can go for that project or investment. This is called IRR. Again, is similar to NPV, but here we are talking in a relative fact. Relative frictions, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? This cost benefit analysis. This is very, very new topic and very, very difficult topics as well, right? As you all know, we can simply identify the cost and benefits in monetary, but there are benefits which is directly connected to monetary, right? For example, am I going fast? No, right? I think I can take extra 10 minutes, I believe, right? Anyone can confirm? Am I going fast, too fast?
Yes, sir. You have time.
Thank you. Thank you. So back to this example, cost benefit analysis. Assume you are building a highway, right? Currently, you don't have any highway. That means you have a big route to go for there, right? Now you have highway. So this is an investment. What you will see the cost of constructing this. You will see the maintenance cost, all these tangible things. But there is a benefit which is intangible thing, right? Let's say by constructing the highway, a person, let's say an engineer, let's assume you can save 30 minutes of your traveling time every single day. So this will increase your productivity. That will increase your profitability of your company, So this is benefits, right? You got my point, I guess, right? So this is called cost benefit analysis. Rather than only talking on the monetary terms, yes, we are talking the monetary terms, which is not directly available. Let's say you are living in a coastal area. Every year there's a flood, right? Flood comes and disturb your houses, your assets, and sometimes life deaths. Suddenly, the big wall is constructed, like Trump did for Mexico, right? So now the flood is not coming inside. So now, what is the benefit of constructing this wall or the big block? So you have to take that intangible benefits, and again mathematically you have to talk in commercial terms. I am telling this again. It is not that easy to make every intangible benefits into the tangible asset, but you have to try. This is the concept of cost benefit analysis. So if you have an investment plan, let's say 100 million, so what is the benefit from that 100 millions, right? The example I'm using it, you have two options always. Go for the dining, right? Go for the restaurant and having food, and ordering online. So when you're making decision, these are happening without our consciousness in our life. So your mind will say, okay, if I'm going for dining, I can meet new people, I can enjoy the music, I can see the real dress. So that is a benefit, cost part. Other than that, if you order online, okay, you don't need to wake up, you don't need to fresh up things. The food will come to you, but you will miss this experience of that, meeting people, talking with you. So this is how you have to analyze the cost and benefit prior to decisions. I didn't took a big construction example, but now I believe you got a clear picture about what do you mean by cost benefit analysis, right? The point is, this is not new, guys. This analysis we are doing it, we were doing from 100 years, 200 years, but we did only for the things which can directly connected to the, what do you call, monetary terms, like toll, right? Like highway, you have toll fee, you have maintenance cost, fine. That's how we did the cost benefit analysis. But we should identify there's a intangible benefits, there are intangible costs. We have to identify and we have to make in a way which speak in monetary terms. So that is cost benefit analysis. You can Google it. There are a lot of, especially the what do you call that, socially concerned project. There are a lot of cost benefit analysis reports, which is compulsory nowadays to proceed further. Not only the tangible cost, intangible cost. That means you cannot touch and feel, right? You have to imagine and feel. That is called intangibility, right? So with that note, we covered basic viability assessment, right? First one is payback period. It simply identifies the amount of time required to get the money back. It not talk about on the profit you are getting, right? So that is a drawback on this. Next, we have ROI. It takes the total return, but it doesn't consider the time value of money. Third and fourth, NPV and IRR. NPV both considers time value of money, but IRR is more benefit because it talks in the relative factor, which is easy to decision making, right? The last one, cost benefit analysis, slightly new concept compared to the other four topics, but it will be a trend of the town in future. Mark my words, guys. In future, every single, what do you call, infrastructure projects, especially big projects, they will request a cost benefit analysis, not for the direct benefits and direct cost, intangible cost and benefits. Now you got to know as a cost management professional how much we need to develop ourselves, right? We can't simply, using calculators and Excel make money in future. You have to think as economist. You have to think as a, business, actually entrepreneurs, to make yourself easy going. So now it's fine. We got a basic idea about this assessment. And again, I'm telling, I will not say, let's say payback period is 4 years is good, 10 years is bad, NPV 100 million is good, 200 million is bad. There's no set parameters. It depends, again, as I told you, depends on the business you are in, risk, ability, willpower, it's project to project, situation to situation, company to company. So you should not remember, okay, if you Google it, they will say project IRR with the 8% is good. No, that's wrong. You can't decide that, right? You have to think about the real aspect, right? You got my point, right? These analysis, again, I'm telling, analysis is simple, but using for decision making, you have to use common sense, right? With that note, we can go for the real project, but some modified data, right? Can we go to the next topic, guys? Yes, case study of a four-star hotel. Since the confidentiality issues and ethical problems, the numbers are not actual, but the project is some data is actual, some are assumed one for an explanation purposes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm implementing the same concept which I discussed into a real construction project. So we can go for the project details, guys. So it's a four-star hotel project, 4,200 square meters, buildable BUA 78,000, number of floors 42, basements, height. I mean, just normal project data. But the most important data we want, like for viability assessment, construction cost, the economic life cycle. Economic life cycle means for how many years you can use that building, right? And the carrying value or residual value after completing of that years, right? Economic life cycle. For example, if you take a bike or car, there's the economic life cycle. Okay, 10 years you will drive or you will use it, then you will throw it or you will, scrap it. You will sell for a lesser value than what you got. So that is called carrying value. Sometimes we call it the residual value. So these are basic data. Don't remember the values. I just want you to know the concept only, right? So you have a 966 million worth of investment. That is development cost. It goes up to 4 years, right? The development goes up to 4 years, and you can use the hotel for 25 years, right? Let's assume, right? 24 years. It can go beyond that as well. And after the 25 years, the value of that asset, that hotel is 104 million, right? 104.9 million. So 100 million. So this is the data. Next, so this is like initial data. As we discussed, what we need to have a prediction about the future inflows to make viability assessment. So that, can we go for the next slide? So this is the income assumption, assumed income year by year. As I told you, 966 is the initial investment development cost. The life cycle is 25 years. So that means it is predicted every year this hotel is making this much of return, right? This much of return in the sense every year you have a revenue, right? You are, hotel charges, fees, minus every year you have operating cost. Every year this is like 25 million first year, 31, 51, like increases. So if you apply that concept of payback periods, what you have to do is you have to do how much I invested, 966 million. How many years it took for me to recover that? If you, I mean, I think Cost Umbrella and PIQS will share the slides. You can calculate and find mistakes if I made. So it took 15 years, right? Now, is it good or not? That based on that management decisions. Or construction management professional, you should be able to do this, right? For this, you have some logical aspect. For example, the business is like this, right? Hotel branding will start like this, go up, then go down. So you can't predict. For example, if you predict, if you see the inflows, it's like increasing 25, and gradually it's increased up to 83 in year 15. From year 16, it start reducing it. So this logical sense should be there, right? So this is called payback period, 15 years. Can we go to the next slide to calculate ROI? ROI, we already discussed, right? That is total return minus initial investment divided by initial investment into 100. So the total return, if you add year 1, year 2, year 3, that's 25.7, 31.7 up to year 25, then the residual value, you will have 1,718 million. But your initial investment is 966 million. So net return is 750 million for the investment of 966, that is 78. I don't want you to remember these formulas and all, right? This is just to identify the concept. What is the shortfall of this method? It doesn't consider the time value of money. But is it a good ROI? Don't know. Because if you want to make that decision, you have to dig deep. The operational country, the time, the competition level, the number of hotels you have in that place, right? So that is ROI. Can we go to the next slide, which is talk about NPV? Same thing. You are considering the real value of money. But in this calculation, I use the interest rate is 2% only increasing every year. That is very unrealistic, right? That is very unrealistic. The countries like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, right? We are like 10, 15% increase every single day. For a reasonable assumption, I took like this. So that means every single year, the value of money is decreased by 2%. So if you take year 1, right? Year 1 in the sense, the year, the project bringing the cash inflows, 25.7, but the real value it brings to the project is 24.57, right? So here, as we discussed, consider the time value of money. The net return, the NPV, is 359. Where you got ROI, how much? 780 or something, which is total nominal value of return divided minus initial investment. Here, the real value or real time value of money minus initial investment is 359 million. Obviously, you should do a project with a positive NPV, right? That is obvious. But the amount, what it should be the criteria, the set marks, it depends on the company to company. But remember, at times, due to business needs, there are companies doing a project with a negative NPV as well to stay in the business, right? Again and again, remember guys, numbers are numbers. Interpretation is the matter, right? Let's say you are running out of project, but you have to keep in the line, keep in the queue. So you are ready to do a project with a lesser profit, even than a loss. So you should not remember that, okay, NPV minus, you should not do the project. So that is conceptually, but in reality, application differs, right? To stay there, you have to carry for a long time, like Dhoni did in taking the match long time, right? The last topic is ROI, right? Internal rate of return. Again, I'm not going for an explanation of numbers. The ROI is 4.56. It is simple. For example, in Excel, you put the cash inflow like this. If you say equal IRR and drag it, it will give you IRR, right? If we did like that, the IRR is 4.6. Now what is the decision making tool I told you? IRR should be more than the interest rates, more than the discount rate, or more than the inflation rate. And depends on the time, the meaning will be different. But we assumed, or we considered the discount rate is 2, but IRR is 4.56. So there's a big margin. So this project can be done. The gap between the IRR and interest rate fringe, that means the project is more and more risky. It's going more and more risky projects, right? I think with that note, we conclude all the viability assessment topics, right? Am I right? Can we go to the next slide? Hopefully it's... Yes. Okay, I'm summarizing everything. We discussed two important topics, which is very vital to make sure you are doing a project. They call you're doing a business successfully. One is feasibility, the checking the ability of whether you can complete that aspect. Viability, by doing this, are we able to get enough return which we are targeting or requesting, requiring? So this is 2 points are enough. To do that, the process is there, the methodology is there. That is what we discussed. Type of feasibility, type of viability. Then we make a report, submit to the client, or make assume if you are an employer, use it, make a decision, move forward. So this is very important. Why this is important? Because you are investing a lot of money, not like other business, especially in construction. You are investing in millions and billions and trillions. So you cannot go for trial and error method. For example, if you have a simple shop, right, Bakala, okay, you can invest, see 1 year, then you can close it and go. That's fine. But our business is big business, right? We need a confirmation about ability of completion, ability of money making prior to the start itself. That's why these topics are very important. In future, remember guys, there will be a huge demand for this viability and feasibility reports. So please, knowledge, please check all this, what is happening, connect the things around to you, right? You will get a clear picture and you will get some interesting about your business as well. My sincere thanks to PIQS and Coast Umbrella for providing this opportunity. I hope I did something useful for you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a great insights. We hope today's session offered useful insights and practical knowledge. A big thanks to you, our honorable guest speaker, Mr. Gorinath, for sharing your expertise and to all of your active involvement. Thanks to all attendees. The certificate for today's session will be distributed to all attendees through their registered email IDs. Our upcoming webinar will focus on development and stage gating. Please stay tuned for the remaining 10 webinars and keep visiting our landing page of PIQS and Cost Umbrella. Thank you once again. Thank you, sir. And we look forward to see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.